Myka Stauffer is an influencer in a downward spiral. Her world is falling apart. And against the wishes of the teams that are advising her, she had had all she could take. And she had to strike back with a response. And in that now deleted response, well, guess what, everybody? Huxley wanted this. He wanted it. He wanted a new home. He encouraged it. And if that's not enough, if you don't believe this 3.5-year-old child who required 30 hours of therapy a week, if you don't think he alone is enough to make a huge decision like that he's just going to up and go to another family, well, she's got another reason for you. This child, this innocent child, there were incidents, and she doesn't go into it any further than that, but there were incidents with the rest of the children. And if that is the case, I have empathy there. That is a lot of the commenters that have been commenting on my videos, and I appreciate each and every one of you engaging in this important topic with me. Many have said if there was a case of violence against the other children, you start to understand that. Those are some of the definite reasons that traditional adoptions that are done domestically end up in dissolution. But it seems like we're really trying to justify what happened. She is really trying to get out of the fire here, and I just don't buy it. And when you think about rehoming, you think about an animal, right? A dog, a cat. In this situation, in the picture here, we've got Andy Cohen. He had to rehome his rescue dog because of the danger to his 1-year-old son. There had been an incident. And we don't second guess that, right? But when we hear rehoming in regards to a child, to a human being, it just makes our blood boil. Rehoming as it relates to international adoption is this unregulated, very poorly monitored, seedy underbelly of the adoption process. And if we look at a few stats around this horrible practice, so if we look at domestic adoptions, roughly 1 to 5% will go through a legal dissolution or they will be legally dissolved. Then in turn, as monitored by the government, the child will get an opportunity at a second home, hopefully a forever home. These people are vetted by the government, and this is monitored, of course, and progress is looked at as well. For international adoptions, roughly 5 to 8% are what we would term rehome. And the differences between the two are pretty much night and day. Legal dissolution of the adoption, government monitored. International rehoming, it's not government monitored. There's very little vetting being done. And right now there is a law on the books that if you are, for instance, say in any state, we'll just say Tennessee, which is where I am, and I'm going to rehome a child into Missouri. Both states must be told that this process is happening. They will not monitor it in any way. They're just supposed to know that it took place. But a lot of times parents don't do that. And very rarely are they prosecuted in any way for mishandling this process of letting the states know. So it is understandable that those of us that are following this story are very upset about the situation with Huxley. We have so many questions, and we have been given so few answers. So for instance, this medical team that has been advising the Stauffers, we don't know who they are. We don't know what they're affiliated with. We don't know if they actually exist. The home that Huxley has now found himself in, that he, again, at 3.5 years of age, supposedly chose. This family that he chose. We have no idea who they are. We have no idea what process was followed, what vetting was done. We don't know these things. And for this family, the Stauffer family, to put every aspect of their life online or on Instagram, which they tell us now that 99% they didn't put on the internet, I find that hard to believe. But they made the decision to show every aspect of the adoption process, but the rehoming process gets one video and gets one reply and a couple vague tweets and a couple vague Instagram posts. A child who had been in your home nearly 3 years, who had been the focal point of your channel, And that's the most you can do. So as of right now, the following sponsors have pulled out. Many have already said that any kind of cooperation or any type of contract between them and the family was a one-off anyway. Some of the bigger companies, Big Lots, Suave, Playtex Baby, Danimals, all saying that there are no plans to work with the family again. Mattel, one of the major sponsors, yet to say anything about it. I would be highly surprised if they also didn't cut ties. I do not think any company is going to really want to be represented by Myka for some time. And I just want to say that the comments of so many of you that have shared your own personal journey as you made it through the foster care system, what that did to you, how it affected you when you started your own family, how it still affects you to this day. It meant a lot to me. Your courage and your strength are a great motivator for me and for others. And I really appreciate it. Those of you that are caregivers, nurses, doctors who have chimed in here, thank you so much for what you've added to this important conversation. And ultimately, for all of us, it comes down to this: knowing and understanding that Huxley is okay. We want to know that. We want to know that he's okay, that he's with a good family. What went into the vetting process? What is he going to recoup of the money made off him when he was used oftentimes for product placement? Is that going to be set up in any type of trust for him? Is he going to have a college fund based on the large sums of money he brought into this family? We are going to require answers. And we're going to keep beating the drum till we get them. I encourage you to go out and sign the change.org petition, because things are due Huxley, and I'm not involved with that petition at all, but I do think it's a good idea. It at least sends a message. And even though the Stauffer family is a part of social media, you can't just erase a child and people not have questions. You can't just turn the page and go to Bali and people not have questions. Myka Stauffer, the world wants to know more. And I would suggest you tell them.